Welcome back in YouTube Global Hoops official. Gil McGregor here with Kyle Irving and KI. It wasn't that long ago that you and I were on here asking each other what's next for Los Angeles Lakers. They had just lost in the first round to the Phoenix Suns. Things looked pretty bleak. Anthony Davis was injured. LeBron James looked a little bit slow, maybe a step behind because he was dealing with an ankle injury of his own, and we didn't know what they were going to do. Well, they did something. They did something pretty big. On draft night, reports first surfaced that the Lakers have moved to acquire 2017 NBA MVP Russell Westbrook in a blockbuster trade. I couldn't believe it when I first heard reports that it might happen. I didn't think it was going to happen. Then it happened. So what were your thoughts when the Lakers landed Russell Westbrook, the triple-double king?
It happened so fast because, first it was the Buddy Hield deal. And I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Add a shooter. That's something that they need. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Washington came in and swooped in with the Russell Westbrook offer. And, it's a tough offer to turn down. Yeah. No matter what you want to say about Russell Westbrook and how he plays or how he'd fit, he doesn't, add shooting to the Lakers that they need, all that stuff. Like, if you can add somebody of Russell Westbrook's caliber to play alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and we're not talking about Team USA, we're not talking about the All-Star game, you have to do it. He is such an incredible player. And as we saw down the stretch of the Washington Wizards season where, early on in the year, he struggled a little bit, but then as the season went on, we really saw him pick up his play when his team needed it most. And at one point he was just straight up carrying that team to the play-in game where, they had a chance to legitimately make the playoffs, and then they did. So, to see Russell Westbrook play at that level, it really makes me believe that, whatever their shortcomings are as a team in terms of personnel, which, we're going to talk about, they addressed in free agency, but, you kind of work those things out after you acquire a player of Westbrook's caliber. You're not going to immediately, assess that trade and say, well, how does this fit in with our roster? It's no, you have an opportunity to get a player of Russell Westbrook's caliber, you get him on your team, and then you figure out how it fits in with the roster after that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, Russell Westbrook, we talked about, like he averaged a triple-double again last year. He is literally the triple-double king. Nobody in NBA history has recorded as many triple-doubles as he has. And now you pair him with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And you hinted at it a little bit. Like, there are concerns with the fit. Like, Russell Westbrook isn't the most efficient shooter from the field. And LeBron James is definitely improved as a catch-and-shoot three-point guy and can space the floor a little bit, but he's not a three-point marksman. But at the same time, like, these are three of the best players in the game and three of the best to ever do it. And when you talk about guys figuring it out, like guys that are that talented and that gifted and that special, they can find a way to figure it out if they put their minds to it and if they want to. And Russell Westbrook is a guy who got close to the promised land early on in his career and hasn't been back. And he wants to win. And I think looking at that, and he is a winner, looking at, all the things we talked about with his efficiency, and he had that meme last year of saying it's pretty interesting because he was really efficient down the stretch. So when you look at the Lakers, if you can get Anthony Davis back healthy, LeBron James is the ageless wonder, like now they have options down the stretch to, when the game is close and it's clutch time, they have guys who can get it done. So when you think about that big three and the landscape of the league, we look at the Bucks, who just won the title, had their big three of Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. Like, you think they can make it work, right?
Yeah, I think they'll make it work. I think that LeBron and Russell Westbrook, even though they're both ball dominant, they're both pretty adaptable players. And I think that, you can catch some slack for saying that Russell Westbrook's an adaptable player, but I expect him at this stage in his career playing alongside Anthony Davis and LeBron James to be an adaptable player. I know that it wasn't necessarily the case in the past, but I really do think, like we saw with the Phoenix Suns, it helps to have two primary ball handlers, two guys that can make plays with the ball in their hand. And you have that in LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. So I feel like when you add all three of them together, it's certainly going to take some time. It's going to, they're going to have to iron out the wrinkles. It's going to take a while to work out the kinks. But I think that once they get this down and once they figure out the lineups and rotations that work with all the new pieces that they brought in, it's really, I think that they're going to get back to being one of the best teams in the Western Conference. There's just too much talent there for me to believe anything else. So, whatever you want to say about, they need more shooting, or, are they still going to be one of the elite defenses in the NBA? I still feel like with the talent in place that they're going to be one of the top tier teams, and they're going to be right back there fighting for a Western Conference title and potentially an NBA title, the first of Russell Westbrook's career.
So yeah, to your point, that spacing is real. They're very real concerns, especially in the modern day NBA. And also have to acknowledge the package that it took to acquire Russell Westbrook, Montrezl Harrell on his way out, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma. Also, Alex Caruso left as a free agent. So this Lakers team is going to look very different. Now, free agency, they try to address a couple of things and retool the roster. They re-signed Talen Horton-Tucker, also brought in Kendrick Nunn, Wayne Ellington, Carmelo Anthony, Malik Monk, Dwight Howard is back, Trevor Ariza is back, Kent Bazemore is back. So a lot of these guys, first of all, are veterans. They're not young guys with the exception of Kendrick Nunn, Talen Horton-Tucker, and Malik Monk. But when you look at the way that this roster is taking shape, and I might have left somebody out because they picked up a lot of guys, but what do you think about the way this roster is taking shape? These are guys who have played at a high level. They've gone deep. They've made deep runs. Trevor Ariza's won a title with the Lakers. Same goes for Dwight Howard. I see the vision, but where does the vision go?
Well, I don't know if it's 2020 at this point because these guys are getting old, so their eyesight's probably getting worse. But no, all jokes aside, I feel like, you know what? I mean, all those players that you just named, I saw something on Twitter the other day. They brought them in for $15 million combined. Like, what other franchise in the NBA besides maybe the Brooklyn Nets at this point could bring in that much? And I'm going to say that much talent because all of those guys still bring something specific to the game, even at this stage of their careers, whether it's Melo to space the floor on mid-range jumpers and three-pointers, Trevor Ariza to space the floor, he can still defend. Like Kent Bazemore brings energy. There's like Wayne Ellington, knockdown shooter. It just seems like even Dwight Howard, we've seen as of 2 years ago, can make an impact as, you know, a physical presence, someone that brings energy on the glass. He just brings an attitude, and he did it for Philly a little bit last year too. So all of these players still bring something to the table at this stage of their career, even if they're not the complete package that they may have been at one point in their career. So if you have the opportunity to bring in all of those players, yes, it's going to be, you know, there's no continuity there yet. It's going to take a while for all of those pieces to fall into place and find out which lineups work. But you know what? I mean, there's so much change. There's so much, you know, roster movement throughout the year and from offseason to offseason that which team isn't going through those type of growing pains from year to year. So I really feel like, I mean, it's going to take a little bit for them to work it out. I think the defensive side of the ball, even though, you know, I mentioned when you have this much talent, you're going to be able to find a way to make it work. The defensive side of the ball is where I have my biggest concerns because obviously defense is what has made the Lakers so great over the past 2 years since, you know, LeBron and AD have teamed up. So that's where my biggest concern is. But as far as, you know, spacing the floor and making sure that, you know, there's enough basketballs to go around to feed all these mouths, it seems like to me that, you know, they brought in guys that address needs. Trevor Ariza, like I said, can still knock down perimeter shots. Malik Monk, I'm confident in his ability to knock down perimeter shots. Wayne Ellington, same thing. So, you know, I really feel like Kent Bazemore, another one who can knock down timely shots. So, and obviously Carmelo Anthony. So I feel like, you know, even though that it's kind of an older squad and LeBron already took to Twitter and he's talking about it, you know, how he's building up that narrative of Wash King and all this, like it feels legitimate. And I mean, if I'm going to bring up social media, we also got Russell Westbrook back to his usual self, bumping tunes in the car. He's got the head nod going. He's rapping all the lyrics. Like it just seems like he's happy about where he is. So, I mean, all in all, I'm pretty excited about the direction of the Lakers as a team that is going to get back to being one of the elite teams in the NBA this next season, I think.
Yeah, homecoming for Russell Westbrook. And then, you know, you talk about LeBron being the quote unquote Wash King or calling himself the Wash King. Well, a lot of these guys that they brought in have been called Wash by a lot of people. So I think the flip side of bringing in vets, though, like you said, like they've been here before, they've seen it all in the NBA. So if there's anybody you should bet on figuring it out on the fly, it's older guys who have years, or in some cases, you know, over a dozen years of NBA service to their names to figure things out on the fly. And again, like this is a return to LA for a lot of guys. So they know what it's like to have that Los Angeles Lakers spotlight, albeit some of those guys like Wayne Ellington played for worse iterations of the Lakers, but they've played for the Lakers. So they understand what it's like to be on that stage. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Was Russell Westbrook the right move for them? Will the older guys figure it out? Can Malik Monk be that X factor? And Kendrick Nunn too for this Lakers team. We didn't even talk that much about him as well. See if they can get back to the mountaintop. They're just a year removed, or less than a year removed, from winning the NBA title. So don't count out the Lakers. Don't count out LeBron James. Don't count out Global Hoops Official. Continue to tune in to us. We're two young guys, but we're figuring it out on the fly as well. Subscribe and like these videos. Get them right into your feed every time they drop. For Kyle Irving, I'm Gil McGregor. We'll catch you next time.